What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Dog Waters, and I'm back. And again, I'm going to stick with the theme of touching on some things. You can kind of say it's adding validity to what we talked about giants. But I want to touch on some of the other myths from various religions around the world. They all coincide and they have this one thing in common, and that is that there was a great flood. And each and every one of these myths, whether it be the Viking myths or Norse beliefs or the Hindu beliefs, there was a great flood. In the Viking and Norse mythology, the flood was created by a battle of giants. And one of the giants was jugged and he bled so much that, the world flooded in blood. And then in the Hindu belief, it also is a myth where one of the Hindu gods was washing his hand in a bowl and he saw a fish, and the fish made a promise to him that he would help him survive the great flood. But again, I want you to understand that all of these things involve some type of giant human being or giant animal. Why is this significant? Because as we move forward, and as you see this across all religions, you realize and know that not only is the myth of the flood, not even the myth, the reality of there was a great flood, it's clearly documented across all religions. But again, it's another insight into the giants that clearly had to be present at some point in time for human beings even to conceive the notion of writing this stuff down and adding it to their mythology. So we as humans throughout the history of time had to physically see this in order for us to consider it to be important enough to document it. And so that's what we're touching on right now. I'm going to play some of this mythology for you. I just want you to listen to it so you can understand and expand your thought process on what's actually going on, what's actually there. Now, there'll be some people who say, well, the Norses were pagans and the Hindus aren't Christians. And I understand that. I'm not here to judge people's religious backgrounds. I'm here to talk about the information. For example, I was on a plane headed back from Dallas just recently, and sitting in a terminal, there was a father and a daughter holding a conversation about the Bible, and I mind my business. But I found it significant that the father was saying that he actually believed what was said in the Bible, and the daughter was saying that, well, she looked at it as more of just a historical text and a bunch of good stories. And they went back and forth, back and forth. I'm sitting within earshot, like actually right across from them. And I'm looking at them hold this conversation and saying to myself, she clearly has never read the Bible. And she clearly hasn't read any of the other texts associated with the Bible, nor has she read any other real mythology associated with any religion, because they all have similarities to them. And if she's sitting there saying it's a book of stories, purely a book of stories, then how is there validation for all this across the board? It threw me for a loop, but it's none of my business. I'm from New Orleans, so we don't button people's conversations. It is what it is. You talk about what you talk about. That's your life. You do what you do. But check it out.
In Hindu mythology, the gods created Manu, the first man, who gave life to all humans. According to legend, he was the earth's first king and the ancestor of all the kings of India. The most famous tale involving Manu tells of a great flood that destroyed everything on earth. One day Manu was washing his hands in a bowl of water when he saw a tiny fish there. The fish pleaded with Manu to be placed in a larger vessel of water to survive. In return, the fish promised to save Manu from a great flood that was to come and carry away all living beings. Manu put the fish in a bigger bowl, but the fish grew so rapidly that he had to transfer it to an even larger tank. The fish continued to grow until Manu eventually threw it into the sea. At that point, the fish told him that he should build a great ship to save himself from the coming flood. He also instructed Manu to take into the ship 2 of each animal on the earth as well as seeds from every kind of plant. When the flood came, Manu used a rope to tie his boat to a large horn growing out of the fish. pulling the ship through the rough waters, the fish came to the Himalaya mountains. Then it told Manu to tie the ship to one of the mountains and wait until the waters receded. After the flood, Manu became lonely because only he and the animals aboard the ship had survived. He offered a sacrifice and was rewarded with a wife, with whom he began to repopulate the earth. In several Hindu texts the fish appears as the god Brahma or Vishnu. T.
Now clearly, that was the Indian or Hindu tradition of the flood. Let's go into our Native American traditions of what happened during the flood, why it happened, and you'll even notice it talks about monsters and giants. Again, listen.
Native America. In many Native American myths, floods occur as punishment for human misdeeds. The Chiricahua Apache maintain that the Great Spirit sent a flood to drown the whole earth because people did not worship him. According to the Navajo, a series of floods forced the people to emerge from deep in the earth through several higher worlds. The final flood was caused by Water Monster, who became angry when Coyote stole his child. This flood, which drove the people to the surface of the present world, ended when Coyote returned the Water Monster's baby. The Cheyenne say that the gods use floodwaters to control people's movements. Floods also have positive powers. In myths of the Arikara and Caddo people, floods wipe out evil giants and make the world safe for humans. Several Indian mythologies in Mexico and the American West tell of cycles of destruction in which one whole world creation was destroyed by flood, while others ended in fire, ice, wind, or other disasters. The Aztecs believed that the first age of creation ended in a flood. In the Mayan creation story, a flood washes away the wooden people made by the gods in an early attempt to create human beings.
Again, guys, I'm not pointing out this stuff to tell you what to believe or how to believe. I'm only pointing this out to show you the consistencies across the eons of time as to what we as human beings have faced and we collectively have seen. Again, there's going to be people who want to debate, oh, well, this predates this and this predates that. Man, listen, whatever you believe is your choice. That's what belief is. You choose to believe that and choose to have faith in that. And I respect your choice and belief. But I want you to understand, no matter what you believe, this theme, what you believe, this theme is reoccurring through all major religions. And that theme is that there were giants, there were titans, there were monsters, there was shit that people just didn't know what the hell to do with. Take a listen again.
During the time of the creation of the universe, there were two distinct worlds, the lands of fire, Muspelheim, and ice, Niflheim. As eons passed, the lands of fire and ice eventually came in contact with each other. As the freezing waters of Niflheim fell, they mixed with the ash and clay of Muspelheim and forming the body of a giant. This giant lay prone and unconscious for many eons, unfeeling and unmoving. Its name was Yma, the first of the mountain giants, Jotuns. Over time Yma turned evil. After a long struggle, finally the three young gods, Vili, Vindrodan killed Yma. When Yma fell, the blood from his wounds poured forth. Yma's blood drowned almost the entire tribe of Jotuns. Only two Jotuns survived the flood of Yma's blood, by building an ark. One was Yma's grandson Bergelmer and the other his wife. Bergelmer and his wife brought forth new families of Jotuns.
Now, to be clear with everybody listening, I'm here to point you in the right direction. It's for you, and it's up to you to go out and do the rest of the research. These are things that have been pointed out to me, in turn, to be pointed out to you. So, in order for you to understand what's coming in the future and not be shocked and surprised by what you see, you really need to understand the past. So, I'm pointing out these things to you for a specific reason at a specific time. Now, somebody may be saying, "Oh, you making stuff up." Listen, dog, I was told to point this out to you, so I'm pointing it out to you. Pay attention, do your research, and understand that whatever your faith is, whatever you believe, that this is a reoccurring theme. It has been for a long time, and it will be again in the future. Quite frankly, I'm freaked out by the shit, honestly. Just completely and totally freaked out by the whole situation.